This is a G20 presidency. What happens after this? Now, there are three things I would ask you to note. Number one, in the G20, even after you give up the presidency, there's a troika system. The previous president, the current president, and the future president, they all work together, and they have, in many ways, a very high degree of influence and, shall I say, standing in the organization. So it is not that it will suddenly come to an end at the end of this year. Number two, the way we are handling it, I think a lot of this credibility will stay with us even after G20 is over. When Prime Minister and his senior ministers have together talked directly, personally to 125 presidents, prime ministers and ministers of the world, it has a lasting impact. So we hope that many of these consultations and practices will become, in a way, part of international politics, will become a kind of a culture among us. The third is actually how we ourselves conduct the presidency and what are the outcomes and the results of it. Sometimes the outcome can be a very, very powerful outcome which can go beyond. On the question regarding the museums which the lady asked, our objective, and I have the Minister of Culture also sitting here, when we are doing the G20 programs, as I said, we do not want those who come to only see a conference room, only see a hotel, only see an airport. We want them to go to our museums. We are taking them to our museums. We are taking them to our historical, cultural sites. You will see that. I myself, in the some of the meetings which I am associated with, in one of them, development ministers meeting, I am personally taking them to a museum. So I assure you, our effort will be to make sure that our heritage, our culture will get the fullest exposure during this period. Yes, on the RTC question, I note what you are saying. To be very honest, I do not have a specific answer. One thing I have learned in government, do not talk about things which you do not know. I also note that is not necessarily a trait in politics. I know apparently some people have that freedom. But the fourth question, the one about non-state actors. Non-state actors, I think, are increasingly recognized as a problem. There was a time when Pakistan pretended non-state actors were doing things. So what I'll do is I will take one more round. But let me spread it out a bit. Okay.
Hello, sir. This is Dr. Santosh here. This is Dr. Santosh. Here, sir.
Okay.
I have a small question for you. Sir, I have visited UN South-South Cooperation meeting.
Give me a question.
Yeah. In that forum, there were many countries which did not have even basic disability services. For example, Palestine and those sort of countries were requesting. And I think after seeing the Turkey work that Indian government has done, how can we play a major role in health services, disability services across the globe?
Got it.
There's a lot of pressure going between the central government and the state government. So do you think it will further, it will lead into more crisis, or what the solution or the way forward to it, sir? There's a lot of the acts and all being stayed there in the parliament and all.
And I would like to first emphasize on cow and beef export to be banned maximum from India.
Okay.
Can the G20 take an action wherein we can create a mechanism so that the countries don't fall into the trap of some others?
Let me respond to the to the various questions. One on the Palestine, we actually today have development programs in 78 countries in the world. 78 countries in the world. We help 78 countries in the world in different ways. You can have a situation like Turkey, which is like an earthquake. Even in Palestine, we help with they have a like a relief organization. So India today is seen as a country with a big heart, with growing capabilities, with a leader who has a global vision, with a generosity which covers everybody. So that is the first. I think I got some comments. I treat them as comments. I don't think they deserve specific answers because I think they were meant as the views of the persons who asked them. On center state, look, I don't want to get into the politics of it because particularly as this is a non-political forum, I think all of us as citizens of India, at the end of the day, whatever the politics within the country on national issues, we want to see a united country. For me, as someone who's grown up on the foreign policy side, I always wished, I still wish, that we treat foreign policy and national security as areas of national consensus. When I see political, like point scoring, sometimes I would say polemics, I don't think the country is served well by it. If our troops are on the border, if somebody said it's, Balakot, if our Air Force has taken action in Balakot, and you start questioning that, if you have troops on the border, and the focus should be on how do I improve their infrastructure? How do I give them the right weapons? How do I make sure they can have the cold weather, clothing to last out there? Because I cannot have a repeat of 1962.